Alright, Ethan, you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Our vision for the documentary was to give the audience an insight into the world of boxing and demonstrate why it's worth getting into. The star of our documentary was Ethan Phillips, a fellow student at UEA who has been interested in boxing for the majority of his life. He's picked it up again since joining the university, and it is now a part of his identity that we thought would fit the documentary. During the filming process, we wanted to include dynamic shots which would captivate the interest of the viewer in a less conventional way. And we also used shots where we captured a full 360 view of Ethan training pad work. The framing of the film was just as important as the subject matter to us. To get a full understanding of Ethan's pastime, we wanted to shed light on the equipment he uses on a day-to-day basis. We sat with Ethan for about an hour, and we spoke about his passion for boxing. We took notes on the bits we liked. This meant we could go back and film these sections of speech as we saw fit the documentary. So how long have you been boxing for?
Well, I got back into it when I moved into university in September.
Oh, back into it.
Yeah, I started when I was about 10 years old. My dad got me into it because my granddad used to box. But then I did that for a couple of years, but then I stopped again because of the COVID lockdown and things like that. We really couldn't get back down to the gym.
Okay, so you've had some history with it then?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. For the revolving shot around Ethan and the tracking shot, we used a fig rig to stabilize the camera. This was our attempt at making such dynamic shots presentable to the viewer and professional looking.
Yeah, wait over this way.
Just crashed it the
The different locations we used were Ethan's flat here at UEA, and we also filmed by the lake, which is where Ethan likes to train in his spare time. We wanted to use multiple locations in order to have a variety of scenery and make it more of a portal into Ethan's pastime. We wanted to mix in scenes of Ethan both talking about his pastime as well as scenes of him doing that pastime. The intention here was to give the documentary better pacing, as there was variety and new things to focus on. So, why do you box? Why do you enjoy it then?
Well, at first when I got into it, I was a little scared of getting hit, because it was a scary thing. But then I realised that when you actually get into it, you get to learn all of the new techniques about it. And I also was a really good way of learning discipline. Yeah. And to really bring about your own character and build up your confidence, learning a martial arts, especially boxing, because the community you have there, all the people you spar with, all the people you train with, you're always there trying to back each other to make sure you all reach like the heights you want to get to, and that really just keeps bringing me back, really, the community around it.
Well, how long do you actually picture yourself boxing for?
Well, like the health benefits that, obviously the sparring and the fighting may lead to some issues in the future, but like instead of that and just focusing on like the physical cardio and the athletic ability of going boxing, really I feel we've been doing it for quite a while, because the people that go there, some of them are reaching up to 50 and they're all healthy and they're really athletic as well due to them keeping it up. So I think I'll try and keep up as long as I can.
My favourite thing about boxing has to be the technical aspect behind it, because everyone goes around saying they can fight, and you watch them in a street. We've got the shoes, and everyone might show up usually in their normal regular trainers, and they'll think, I feel like just giving up, It gets really hard on the jogs, the long nights, the early mornings. But then I think to myself, where would I be in 5 years if I stopped today? Like, you can only improve in this sport. There's no going back. So I push myself every single time. When I start to feel it, I'm only halfway there. And I just keep moving forwards.
Yeah, do that. That looks fine.
Overall, we thought our documentary was mostly successful in achieving these goals. Each of us made an effort to ensure that the documentary was both entertaining and informative. As an insight into the world of boxing, the documentary worked very well. We covered most of the foundational bases of the sport and presented the viewer with reasons why the sport is important. Ethan was very easy to communicate with, and he could be directed well. He was quite good at conveying his interest in the sport, as well as explaining his history with the sport.
How do you actually train then?
So I train at two places. I train at the club at the UEA, which is quite nice. That's usually like a Wednesday or Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Or I train down at this local gym in Norwich near the Hewitt School.
Oh, okay. So how often is that?
Well, that one's every day. So that's almost like a show up whenever throughout the morning or the evening. And I usually maybe I try and get in about 5 times a week for about an early start, about 9ish.
Okay.
And a good start to the morning, I feel.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
The dynamic shots were quite successful in the end. The 360 view of Ethan turned out perfectly, but unfortunately the tracking shot of Ethan running wasn't as steady as we were initially expecting. In the end, this wasn't terrible, as the rough nature of the shot conveyed the equally rough nature of the sport. The rundown on the equipment went well, and succeeded in giving a look at what would be needed if one was to get into the sport. The dialogue throughout the documentary was one of the best parts, as it was the bit we focused on the most, having spent an hour speaking to Ethan beforehand. Ethan's input throughout the process allowed for a personal insight into his pastime, which was specific to him. While the different locations were successful in adding variety, it would have helped capture the full picture of his pastime if we were able to film in his gym. Fortunately, we still managed to film outside scenes. The lighting of the film wasn't a massive focus of ours. The outdoor scenes looked fine, but we should have framed Ethan facing towards the window in his flat, as all the light is hitting his back in the indoor scenes. This could have been improved, but luckily the outdoor lighting turned out well. The variety of subject matter meant that the pacing was very successful. Many things were explained as well as shown to the viewer. This raised the entertainment value nicely. To conclude, all of these factors came together to create a high-quality final product, displaying technical ability and incorporating teamwork from everyone involved. The process ran smoothly throughout, and we're all satisfied with the job.